There is a pattern that nobody talks about. You meet someone. They are charming, attentive, almost too good to be true. They say everything you have always wanted to hear. And then, slowly, the mask slips. The warmth turns cold. The admiration becomes control. And by the time you realize what has happened, you are already deep inside the web. If this has happened to you more than once, it is not a coincidence. It is not bad luck. And it is definitely not because something is wrong with you in the way you think. Research from the University of British Columbia found that narcissists do not choose their targets randomly. They are strategic. They scan for specific personality traits the way a predator reads the herd for weakness. And the cruel irony is this: the traits they look for are not flaws. They are some of the most admirable qualities a person can have. Here are the 5 traits narcissists look for in a target. And if you recognize yourself in more than 2, you need to hear this. You feel things other people do not even notice. When someone in the room is uncomfortable, you sense it before a word is said. When a friend is hurting, you carry part of that weight yourself. You do not just understand emotions, you absorb them. This is what psychologists call high-trait empathy. And a 2014 study published in the journal Personality and Individual Differences found that individuals with elevated empathy scores are disproportionately targeted by people with narcissistic and Machiavellian personality traits. The researchers noted that narcissists are drawn to empaths specifically because empathic individuals provide what narcissists cannot generate on their own: emotional validation. A narcissist has an endless void where self-worth should be. They need someone to constantly reflect back to them that they are special, that they matter, that their feelings are important. An empath does this instinctively. You do not even realize you are doing it. You listen. You validate. You try to understand their perspective, even when they refuse to understand yours. Here's what you need to know. Empathy is a gift, but it becomes a liability when it has no boundaries. The takeaway is not to stop feeling. It is to start asking yourself a question every time you feel pulled toward someone's pain. Am I being invited into this, or am I being used by it? You hate conflict. You would rather swallow your own needs than risk making someone upset. When someone is disappointed in you, it feels like the floor is falling away. So you adjust, you accommodate, you bend. Dr. Turing. Harriet Breaker, author of The Disease to Please, described people-pleasing not as kindness, but as a compulsive need to manage other people's emotions at the expense of your own. And a 2017 study in the Journal of Social and Personal Relationships found that individuals with high agreeableness, particularly those who score low in assertiveness, are significantly more likely to remain in relationships with manipulative or narcissistic partners. Narcissists exploit this trait with surgical precision. They test you early, a small criticism, an unreasonable request, a subtle guilt trip, and when you comply, when you apologize for something that was not your fault, or rearrange your life to keep them comfortable, they learn exactly how far they can push. The practical shift here is not about becoming disagreeable. It is about learning to tolerate the discomfort of someone else being unhappy with you. Because every time you sacrifice your own boundary to keep the peace, you are teaching the narcissist that your limits do not exist. You second-guess yourself constantly. When something goes wrong in a relationship, your first instinct is to ask what you did wrong. You replay conversations in your head, looking for the moment where you made the mistake. Even when someone treats you badly, part of you wonders if you deserved it. This is the trait narcissists exploit most aggressively because it is the foundation of gaslighting. A 2019 study from the University of Surrey found that gaslighting is most effective on individuals who already have an unstable sense of self. When you are uncertain about your own perceptions, you are far more likely to accept someone else's version of reality, even when that version is designed to control you. A narcissist will say something cruel and then tell you that you are being too sensitive. They will contradict what happened yesterday and make you feel insane for remembering it differently. And if you already doubt yourself, you will not push back. You will wonder if they are right. The antidote is not confidence, not at first. It is documentation. Start writing things down. What was said? What actually happened? When you have a record of reality, it becomes much harder for someone to rewrite it. You give people the benefit of the doubt long after they have stopped deserving it. You make excuses for them. You explain away the red flags. You tell yourself they are going through a hard time, that they did not mean it, that everyone has bad days. Research published in the Journal of Personality in 2016 found that individuals with high frustration tolerance and low reactivity are more likely to stay in toxic relationships because they normalize escalating behavior. In other words, you are so good at absorbing mistreatment that you do not recognize it as mistreatment until it has become extreme. Narcissists rely on this. The abuse never starts at a 10. It starts at a 2. A dismissive comment. A canceled plan with no apology. A subtle comparison to someone else. And because you tolerate it, it escalates. Each time, the line moves just slightly. And because the change is gradual, you adapt without realizing what you are adapting to. The practical shift is to stop asking whether you can tolerate something and start asking whether you should have to. Just because you are capable of enduring mistreatment does not mean enduring it is the right choice. Your tolerance is not a measure of strength. In this context, it is what keeps you trapped. You believe in second chances. You believe people can change. When someone apologizes, even poorly, even insincerely, you want to believe them. Letting go of resentment feels like the right thing to do. Holding a grudge feels petty, so you forgive, again and again. A 2020 study in the journal Frontiers in Psychology found that excessive forgiveness, particularly when it is not accompanied by genuine behavioral change from the offender, is a significant predictor of remaining in abusive relationships. The researchers distinguish between healthy forgiveness, which requires accountability, and compulsive forgiveness, which is driven by the forgiver's discomfort with conflict rather than by any real resolution. Narcissists understand this about you. They will offer just enough of an apology to trigger your instinct to forgive. The words "I am sorry" become a reset button, not for the relationship, for them. It clears the board so they can do it again. Here is the truth that no one tells you about forgiveness in these situations. Forgiving someone who has not changed is not grace. It is permission. Every time you forgive without requiring accountability, you are telling the narcissist that the cost of hurting you is a few well-placed words. If you recognize yourself in 3 or more of these traits, you are not broken. You are not weak. In fact, you probably developed these traits because they were necessary to survive an environment where someone else's emotions were always more important than yours. Perhaps a parent, perhaps an early relationship, perhaps a household where keeping the peace was the only safe option. A landmark 2013 study published in the Journal of Personality Disorders found that many individuals who repeatedly enter relationships with narcissistic partners share a common background: early attachment environments where they learned that love was conditional on meeting someone else's needs. The traits that make you a target were once survival strategies. They kept you safe when you were young. But now they are keeping you stuck. Recognizing this is not about blame. It is about awareness. Because the moment you see the pattern, you take the power back from every narcissist who ever used it against you. The traits that make you a target are not weaknesses. They are strengths that have been turned against you by people who cannot generate their own light, so they learn to feed on yours. The day you stop seeing your empathy, your kindness, and your willingness to forgive as things that need to be given freely to everyone, and start seeing them as valuable resources that need to be earned, that is the day the narcissist loses all power over you. And they know it, which is exactly why they will fight so hard to make sure that day never comes.